We are recording.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Chan. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist here in Irvine, California. And I am doing this recording with my dear friend here. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. This is Michelle. I also have a private practice in Pasadena, a little far from Sharon, but not too far. And I also do supervisor at Lake Avenue Church in Pasadena. And I'm also mother of 2 kids, 8 years old and 5 years old at home.
Yeah, her kids are super adorable. So, yeah.
They are.
Yeah. Michelle and I have known each other. Gosh, I think it's been like 10 years, right, Michelle?
I think it's more than 10 years.
Yeah. We went to Fuller together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost 13 years, I guess.
Wow. It hasn't been that long. Yeah. Yeah. So our heart here is just we wanted to kind of come into this recording and talk about a couple of topics regarding, this time that we're in, the pandemic. That's one layer of it, but also just like the Asian American, as we both identify with being Asian and Asian American, and living in a time where hate crimes are going up. Asian Americans are experiencing just like physical attacks and verbal attacks, those kinds of things. And we wanted to just shed some light onto this topic, but also just relate and bring some empathy around it. And hopefully at the end, we'll put some like resources that you can kind of find for yourself if you're wanting to get support for you, if you or a loved one are experiencing some of these hardships. Yeah. What do you think, Michelle? Do you think that's...
Yeah, I think there are a lot of, news articles about hate crime toward Asian Americans. There are a lot of talks and writings and articles, but I just wanted to also bring our voice as a therapist in this time. I wanted to bring that, resources and empathy. And also we see you and we hear you and you're not alone. We just wanted to deliver the message to the community. That's why Sharon and I'm particular, I never want to do this kind of thing. But I wanted to make myself available, make our community, therapist community in Asian American circle available to you guys so that you don't have to suffer alone. And then, I got a lot of like feedback, the messages that, when they experience the harassment in the community, they're even afraid to go out of their door, to the basic essential things such as grocery store, shopping, or commute to the, workplace. It's a real thing. So we wanted to just, bring our support and listen to you guys and be here to support.
Yeah, that's so well said. I really like that. I think, you're right. Like the heart of what's going on and really, you were pointing out articles. Let me just do you mind if I just give a few information about that? So these are articles that, you can find online, but the first one was that the reports that physical and verbal attacks on Asian Americans has increased dramatically. Also, the crisis lines right now have shot up a lot from Asian Americans. Another example from another article, as I'm sure many of you have heard, that there was a family of 3 were stabbed outside
in Texas.
Last month. And so the FBI is just warning people, just in general, that hate crimes against Asian Americans because of the coronavirus fears are something to be aware of and to look out for. And then the third article that we found was about there were instances of healthcare workers that were Asian American were being verbally attacked. For example, a doctor on his way to work was told to go back
Go back
go
to China.
yeah, go back to China. And then the second one was a nurse. She was basically spit on because of
Mm.
that. So just hearing that, yeah, Hee-jung. And then Michelle, when you told me about like,
Hijang is my Korean name.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm so used
No
to calling
problem.
her Hee-jung.
Any name.
Yeah. So like, and then I know you have a heart. What is your reaction to all of this? Like when you hear all of this and, like what comes up for you, like as a mom, as a therapist, as an Asian, yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just lots of sadness around it and also fear. Even though I live in California, I live in a very culturally diverse place. So I don't experience that much, within that intensity, but it doesn't mean that, that doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
I feel, sad, like in my own journey, like I experienced one time that, somebody didn't like how I drove, and then he just like showed up and then angry and said, go back to China. And I was
Mm,
like, wow, like I should remember my own reaction, that I was like shaking. It was, I
yeah.
couldn't talk. And I felt like all of a sudden just my sense of safety is violated. I'm
Right.
not safe in this place. And even, like China is not my country of origin, but still people, just project and not willing to listen everyone's story and narrative, and just, kind of objectifying everyone
Yeah.
who looks like Asian, they're Chinese, and so that they have to go back. Or even, that kind of like lack of awareness, and it's just simple anger. It just felt really unsafe. And so
Yeah.
I experienced that in my own. This time I didn't experience coronavirus related harassment, but
Mm,
I heard my friend who is in Boston, she's a law school student, and
mm,
then she took, the subway as usual, and then somebody called her coronavirus. And she
mm.
said, I'm, she might work in the area that's not many people are aware of, this kind of stuff. So she's afraid to work in the fall. She's going to be interning in the area as a community, I think, person. So she's afraid of that. So it's, I don't know, it's just sad. And
Mm,
I'm worried if those who are suffer experienced, and then they don't really have any route to talk about this. So, Asian Americans, we tend to internalize a lot of feelings,
yeah.
and then feels, like shame about this, instead of calling things out or seeking for support or
Yeah.
finding someone to talk. And I think that makes me worried if they internalize their emotions and suppressed about this, and that it will come out later as, I don't know, communal depression or anxiety. It will
Mm,
it will come up. So I'm worried about that too.
yeah. Yeah, I share very similar feelings about that. It's really sad on many layers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and feeling worried and just can't even imagine, like it's already so hard in this pandemic to feel like your physical safety, like you were talking about safety, to feel like it's being compromised or um,
Violated.
violated. Yeah. And then I know people are taking hits financially,
Yes,
right? People, their whole lives are kind of, everyone is impacted, but impacted in different ways, right? And
totally.
then to add this additional like
Layer.
layer, yeah, which is in itself can be traumatic, right? These
Yes.
hate crimes, this going outside and feeling worried about how you're going to be perceived or like treated,
Mm-hmm.
that's scary. And yeah, and so I do feel for that. And I also am like you, like I feel worried that um yeah, as a culture, I think it generally we kind of hold things in, or maybe there's a lack of like just knowing how or when or how to kind of express those things. And so, like you said, it could end up like manifesting itself in other ways, right?
Right, right.
Um,
And the one of the articles that, the presidential candidate, Andrew Yang, he doesn't run for president anymore, but I
yeah,
read about the article that he talks about we are not a virus, but we are part of a cure. And I like that the title so much, because we can
yeah,
contribute. And those who followed what happened in Asia before it hit US, we have a pretty good foundation and knowledge about how to handle this type of stuff, Maybe if you have a family still there, you read everything so closely. So you have a lot of things to offer to your friends, to your community, to your clients, to your neighbors. So I thought the article is going to address that. But actually, he talks about we have to become more American, and we have to help, and we have to be a good citizen. That's a great message, but I was a little disappointed. Like, it's not something that we have to be more of something, but you have, it's okay to be you. And if you can be truly yourself, we are already compassionate, and we are hard worker, we give a lot, we think collectively, not only ourselves,
right,
it's in us, and we can kind of utilize that. Of course we might grow more by participating in politics or discussions or debates. That's
right,
maybe that's the area that we have to grow. We have to know what the mainstream is talking about, but at the same time, be more American is not a solution. It feels like we are already are,
yeah,
and
yeah,
because this type of pandemic, people can be so stressed out. Either they can so under functioning, but at the same time they can be overly over functioning, and that's a
yeah,
lot another traumatic reaction.
right,
So I was like, I was so excited about the article. I woke up and then I saw the article. Wow, this is something that I was waiting for. So I read
yeah,
it, and then I was like, what is this?
yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's a great message. I agree with it, and we have to participate, not just like just
let
avoid.
life happen,
Yeah, not like it's just hidden in the closet. It's society is all suffering, and then we are part of it.
right,
We have so much to offer. And
yeah,
I wanted to highlight that, but it was a little bit of like, I'm very self-compassionate oriented therapist, so it's an affirmation of who you are, and you are. And so I wanted to just bring the message.
yeah. I love that, and what I totally agree with you. What I'm hearing is that piece of information of like, you don't have to be more of something. You can just be you and have your experiences in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we can all grow as humans no matter what culture we come from to help in this American way.
Yes.
But you as an Asian American or Asian individual don't have to
Mm-hmm.
conform to be fitting in, but you have a unique gift to offer your
Right.
communities and who you are. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Right. Because
Right?
we tend to, Asian American Asians in general, we like the recognition. We like
Oh
acceptance.
yeah,
That
totally.
drives us, and it's not all bad thing. But I think that
Right.
article specifically, I think a little, like out of touch or out of point in that.
Yeah.
I wish that we can encourage ourselves and empower ourselves to be us, and us enough,
Yeah.
and we
I love
can,
that.
we can over function, or we can function, or we can help, but not out of that place of, as you say, try to fit in, or try to
Right.
prove, or try to be somebody else. I think that will exhaust us at the end.
Mm.
I think it's a great opportunity. It's such a hard time for everyone, but it's
Yeah.
also a great opportunity for us to really claim who we are, and find
Mm.
who we are, and stand as we are.
I love that. Yeah, I love that so much. I'm wondering, we talked a little bit about self-compassion during this time. I think especially with the hate
Mhm.
crimes going on, and it's just kind of like a resource slash coping way. How would you recommend that, just in general, but specifically for Asian Americans, with everything that's going on right now? How would you kind of encourage someone to practice self-compassion during this time?
Yeah. Sharon, what do you think? I feel like I talk too much.
Oh, really? No, not at all. I'm just like really interested what you have to say.
I think Sharon is another self-compassion guru and so good at this type of stuff.
Oh
So
no,
I'm going to give you opportunity
I
to
don't know
talk
about
first.
guru.
You
Uh,
are?
no,
Yeah.
no,
So
no.
what do you think?
Okay, well, first of all, like
Mm-hmm.
I, with the topic of self-compassion, I really, as an individual, really am attracted to that message. And that message being extending compassion to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to piggyback on what you were saying, Michelle, like to validate and acknowledge like who I am is enough. What I have to bring to the table is
Mm-hmm.
valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to look like everyone else, right? And people might even be throwing hate my way in certain circumstances for people. And there's this tension in the air, but
Mm-hmm.
I can still be me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even
Mm-hmm.
in amongst of all this kind of tension.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and how I would do that is, I think, stay connected to people,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
To the safe
or
people,
save
supportive
people,
people. Mm-hmm.
supportive people, yeah, where
Mm-hmm.
your voice is acknowledged,
Right.
and where you can kind of almost take that enough mask down and just be you. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
one, cultivating those safe places,
Yeah.
not be in isolation, right?
Right. It doesn't have to be many, but core, supportive, safe people in your life. It's the great, it's not even necessary
Mm-hmm.
for us to have that, whether your
Right.
close friend or your therapist or your
Totally.
church group or your neighbors. Like you really have to like know like who's for you,
Yeah.
and who's not. This type of crisis really reveals a lot of things, including, our relationships, like
Yeah.
who you are core people and who you can let go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, just like the message that we were both saying about validating your own
Mm-hmm.
experiences, you don't have to go through a hate crime in order to be feeling the impacts of being Asian American. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to go. I'm not trying to say like the trauma itself of the hate crimes is to be minimized, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Could still be experiencing the aftermath, or even hearing about these things. It can stir up past things for you, or past messages of how you've been treated. Um,
Right. Right.
so I just want to say, like, wherever you are, I think the message is wherever you are, to know that your experience is valid, to know that it's important, um, that and that if you are feeling things from this whole pandemic with the layer of the crimes, and that this the message in the air,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense, and that yeah, that it makes sense and it's valuable. So I think that validation piece and awareness piece is so important when it comes to self-compassion. What do you think,
Right.
Michelle?
The self-validation. It's okay to feel afraid. It's okay. They're
Yeah.
not okay.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important. I
Yeah.
think that, you know, we have a lot to say, but it's, like three core components of self-compassion are self-kindness and common humanity and mindfulness. So I think, as you said, we are all in this together.
Yeah.
Like, you can be gentle to yourself, kind to yourself. For my practical tip to be kind to myself was lowering expectations. Mm-hmm. Certain expectations I had when it started, March 16, that weekend or week, it's way different than the expectations that I have for myself, my kids, my clients, my husband. It's different.
Yeah.
And so I've been benefiting from lowering expectation,
Yeah.
having more realistic expectation. That's the way to be kind to myself. And I try to, just kind of like, just gentle touch, or I've been, online shopping for my favorite candle from Target.com.
Yeah.
A lot of out of stock, but my favorite candle is lavender and sea salt. So I've been kind of lit up every morning. That's my
Yeah.
kindness ritual. And I ponder those who passed away, like the day before. I check the numbers every day. So
Yeah.
I try not to be numb or desensitized about that. I want to honor those who fight for this disease, as a health professional or as a patient or those caregivers. So I have a little of my kindness ritual in the morning. And yeah, so self-kindness is one of core component of self-compassion. And second is, as we mentioned, we are all in this together. Yeah. We talk about Asian Americans in this talk, but we acknowledge, the African American community, this is the hardest. And then this is very tragic and very unfair. And, as Sharon and I, before we start this private practice journey, we both were community mental health clinicians for long enough time. And then Sharon herself was a special education teacher before. We always very aware of social justice issues. And then I was a missionary before jumping in this field. And so I've seen poverties all around the world. I even was, in a poorest areas in U.S. So I aware of that. So it's like we are all in this together. I'm not alone. When you experience hate crime, you feel like you're alone. But when you look around and, you can see that you're not alone. So I think that awareness will help us to be more compassionate to ourselves and to the world around us. And so third component is mindfulness. So instead of minimizing or maximizing, you just really like identify your emotions, we say clinical term, become more emotionally intelligent or literate, or just be an observer of your emotion. Then you don't, you can just acknowledge your emotions as it is. And it hurts. It's headache, and so more be mindful and give them names to those emotions or those feeling uncomfortable, disturbed. What is that? Is that anxious, or is it sad, or are you alone, feeling lonely, or feeling worried? Like anything that when you be more mindful to your emotions or your bodily experience, you can name that, and it will open the door for you to go deeper with the emotion and process that with your, safe people.
So I'm hearing what you're saying is like being aware of where you're at and your emotions and you're experiencing, validating that, right? Not judging it, just allowing it to be. Right. We were talking about connecting with other fellow people that get it. It doesn't have to be Asian Americans. I think what you were saying was such valuable information. Like we can connect on this string of how it feels, right? Our experiences in different ways.
Right.
And is that what? And then and these are all ways to kind of be kind to ourselves, especially during this time, and even lowering our expectations. I just a little bit of personal information too. Like I feel like I feel very tired, even though I'm doing a lot less. and there's a worry about being productive. There's a worry about finances. There's a worry about different things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the future going to hold? What is this going to look like? You know, there's a stepping outside, feeling like, yeah, am I going to get hate poured on me because I look like this? There's there are a lot of worries, and I think I've just been, on top of everything else going on, there is this exhaustion. I feel more
Yes.
depleted. You know, I feel like it takes more energy. And I'm not to say, I think that's a common response to what is happening and
Yes.
how it's going to impact and look different. Our worlds were kind of just changed, and you know, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we're resilient human beings. We adjust, but
But we cannot
I just
do so much.
exactly. And so even if I'm doing less, instead of, my natural default is to kind of beat myself up, or let's get a game plan going. What am I going to do next? You know,
Yeah. Where
how am
can
I
I
gonna,
find my regain my control back? You know.
yeah, exactly. And those, you know, and those are great. I'm not saying those are, um, negative coping,
Right.
but like
Right. That's
like
our
Michelle,
survival.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. But like Michelle was saying, like, to extend to myself, expect to lower that and say, Sharon, you're doing the best you can right now. And I want to honor how you're feeling about how tired you are, you know, and kind of allowing those expectations to kind of be reshaped during this time, you know.
Exactly.
So I agree with that 100%. I think that's a great way to be kind to yourself during this time. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then, as you mentioned, the Sharon, something like maybe the past experiences or unresolved emotions will come up, you
Totally.
know, and when we feel so unsafe and vulnerable and, we feel like we have no control over this, and that will
Totally.
trigger a lot of our past trauma or grief. And
Yeah.
that's also very normal. And
Yeah.
then be kind to yourself when those things come up. That's also very important, because we are dealing with whatever things happening right now, but also our psyche is also processing, at the same time, what we experienced before. So
Yeah.
mhm.
So multi-layered, huh?
Multi-layer. I
Tis
like that.
life. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I've grieved a lot, just, in my personal journey. And, I even like missed my client, those who are taking a break during this time, or, you know,
Yeah.
they're not sure they are going to come back or not. Like, or even, a lot of like relationships that, it's interesting. I hate drop off and pick up as a mom. I hate those like 5-10 minutes short hi, or those like meaningless interactions. To me, I hate those. So like part of me, I like that I don't have to drop off and pick up. So, but the other part of me, I also miss people and, the human touch, or
Sure.
yeah. So it's a real thing. And I was so disappointed with White House news briefing, and all kinds
Mm.
of political stuff going on. So I kind of like just vented to my friend. It's like, did I leave Korea for this? Like I was
Yeah.
in
Is this
like,
what I came for?
yes, this is what I came for. Or like it's something is like a grieve over my departure 20 years ago. I
Yeah.
yeah, 2001 I came here. So it's like feels, those like on I never really deeply processed maybe. So it came up, and then I allow myself to like kind
Mm.
of be broken, like a break. Like I had a crying session with myself. And
Yeah.
even, I shared this before recording with Sharon, that I had my own office with my kind of name on it. And then somehow I had to let go of the office through this time. And it felt really sad. And
Mm.
I was kind of, avoiding that pain. And I didn't really let myself feel. But last weekend, somehow Easter, like gloomy weather, and then
Yeah.
songs that I listen to just kind of allow me to get in touch with that. And so I kind of grieved in my own. I went to my office by myself with a mask and protective gear, and I cleaned, and then I, saw the toys I play with my client and just little things here and there. And then I just gave myself like, full, kind of almost like an hour. I just time to myself and process, wrote a little card and Easter chocolate, bunny chocolate to my landlord who let me use the office for 5 years. And so it's just this like meaningful ritual, and find the meaning of this time. Finding
Sure.
meaning is a very also important stage of grieving.
Yeah.
And so it's finding meaning. I encourage you. I mean, it's hard for us to even think about meaning over this time, but
Especially when, yeah.
especially.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I think that, I've known you for a while, and you've always kind of been individual on a human level that I feel like I, respect, as far as like, you're just really like, you allow yourself space to just, just be with who you are and your emotions. And I
Thank you.
think, I think, yeah, and I think that grieving process is so respectable and so beautiful and hard. And I think also, like, going back to like that piece of like, I think that you're a very resilient individual too. And yet, we've shared a lot of those types of grieving processes. And Michelle, I keep calling you Heejung. That's a great example of like how we need, like, I need you, you need me, we need community to kind of go through this together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
as strong and aware and insightful and beautiful you are in that sense, like, we still need each other, because we're not made to do this alone. And so I think that's such a perfect example of you so vulnerably sharing your experience of like, even a person like you, we need each other, so then that's okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. This virus is teaching us how interdependent we are.
Right.
I mean, you don't
Right.
have a virus. Our state does not have many cases, but it doesn't mean that you're
Right.
out.
Mhm.
We are so interdependent. And then this is a big lesson that we are all, as a humanity, are. And like
Yeah.
you say, we cannot do so much alone,
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So,
It's kind of bringing more of that, hopefully, common humanity, interdependent kind of
yes.
relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely.
Um, you go ahead.
Yeah. So Sharon, how have you been coping? You share a little bit about, how you've been kind of been feeling like depleted, exhausted, even though, we don't do so much at home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky dynamic there. I definitely feel the loss of like not having the freedom to go out, and a lot of my coping is with exercise and with going to yoga or doing these things outside of the home where I can separate and release.
Yeah, and you're a Hawaiian soul.
Yeah,
Like,
I am.
born and raised in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Being stuck
Yeah.
inside, it's not a life.
Yeah. It's been difficult in that sense. And and I understand the reason why, to keep everyone safe, but on a mental health level, I think it's been hard. Um, that's been showing up in more ways than one, more than I like to admit. We won't go into that. But all to say is, like, I think that, yeah, so I think carving out those times, being kind to myself, understanding that these reactions are common and normal, but also taking like, okay, how am I going to make this, how am I going to take care of myself? And part of the ways that I do that is I'm working and learning on is really being intentional about getting sun. I think for me, yeah, born and raised in Hawaii most of my life, and not having the sun is like, has been really it makes a big difference on my mood. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So
It
in a
kind of makes
uh-huh.
you very depressed, right? If you don't
Mm-hmm.
get enough sun or outdoor time.
Yeah. And just connecting with like nature, I think is huge too. Like
Yes, yes.
seeing the greens and the trees and just I mean, I know everyone they feel different about going outside, but just even getting light is important. I think on mood, but also like being intentional about getting some fresh air, I think is really important for me.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I think that's a very practical thing that I'm trying to implement. But also just like I think going back again to the kindness piece, just realizing like my life just is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to have to find a different
Like a new
normal
normal.
exactly in that. And that's okay. That's not something I'm doing bad or wrong. That's nothing I should be ashamed of. It's just where it's at. And it's okay that I'm making these adjustments, you know? I think that's
Yes.
part of being kind. So talk about using new muscles, right? We're all kind of in it
Right.
together. Yeah.
Because the adapting and, changing, that's the only power that we have in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Only control that we can practice in this situation, because it is, out of control situation, basically.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Um,
We wanted to talk about the clinicians who work with Asian Americans.
mm-hmm,
Uh-huh.
mm-hmm.
Those who are, we kind of wanted to make this available and helpful for Asian Americans or anybody, and then
Yeah.
including those who are clinicians who work with Asian American population, and wonder how you can address this hate crimes or any different layers of this when you see Asian American clients. Do you have any suggestions to share?
This is a hard one. I think that if I were to step in a room, and I'm not doing this from an expert point of view, I'm doing this from like a me being Asian American,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my hope, like, is
Yes.
that if I stepped into my own therapy session,
Mm-hmm.
I would just be sensitive. I would want my therapist to be sensitive to the different layers
Yes.
of tension, of impact, of how this might be a extra hard time because of the hate crimes out there, because of all those things on top of the pandemic. So I
Mm-hmm.
think more than an intervention or an expertise, it's just that common humanity level, and just like really being able to say like, yeah, your pain is valid, the multiple layers of what you're experiencing is valid. And if clinicians are seeing people that Asian Americans or Asians that are going through hate crimes, like that's a major trauma in itself, right?
Yes.
So to understand like if as an Asian American, there are a lot of messages that I have to fight before I can talk about my trauma.
Right.
I'm questioning, is it valid? Who's
Or
to blame
yes,
here?
or it's my fault,
It's
or
my fault.
oh,
Yeah. Or I can just do something to help and not talk about it, right? Like
right,
I can work it out, or I can make myself more this way.
right, so that I
Um,
won't be a burden to someone, or
exactly,
mhm,
exactly. So before even going into the doors, like, and this is a generalization, but I know that as an Asian, like there are a lot of messages I have to fight before I can even get to the doors of talking about my narrative or my trauma.
right,
So just honoring that, I think, there's a lot of respect behind, that story.
right, the
What would you
hidden
say? Uh-huh.
struggle, even though it's not visible, but you can kind of sense that and respect
Yeah.
that, and then really allowing your clients to feel safe and so seen, so that they will come out, they will
Yeah.
they will bring those things on the table
Yeah.
if you create that environment for your
Mm-hmm.
clients. And also, like, we can be so colorblind in this type of
Mm-hmm.
situation, since maybe all Asian Americans are all in this, like, in a different spectrum. So your clients might not really be open about this, or not really resonate, or you never know.
Right.
But
Right.
so it's like, you know, it's maybe feels a little, you know, safe to dismiss this type of topics, or, you know, there's so much going on in this
Yeah.
pandemic anyway. But I think being kind of aware, like, yeah, I heard, like, what's going on, like how it's affecting you, if that's, you know, so kind of like just invitation. And if your client might say, you know, that doesn't bother me, you know, or I didn't really
Right.
experience that, so it's okay, you know, whether wherever they are at.
Right.
But you,
Totally.
yeah, extend the invitation, and if you want to talk, I'm here to listen. And, you know, I'm not an Asian American therapist, or I have no idea what you're going through, but I'm
Right.
here, you know, you already are expert in this, and also your clients trusted you this far.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
sure, you know, they will open about it if you kind of have the awareness and just kind of, you know, like listen to us, or read a
Yeah.
little bit, and just what's going on in the community, not only Asian American community, all minority
Right.
people of color in general. Like, our experience is not the same, so be aware and be sensitive about that. It's
Right.
really great when you work with yeah, people of color.
That's so true. Our experiences are not the same. I think we were talking about too, like someone was like, go back to China, but you're not even Chinese,
Right.
right?
And
You're full
sometimes
Korean.
I feel like I have to explain, you know, like when this started, this, Koreans in South Korea, even, you know, you know, we tend to blame, you know, it's just human tendency. We have to
Okay.
acknowledge, right? Like, but at the same time, you know, it's a global pandemic, you know, it's a
Mm-hmm.
climate change. If that's, you know, it can happen anywhere. That's a
Yeah.
scientific knowledge. And but I tend, you know, as you say, I'm not Chinese, so I kind of feel like I have to explain. But that's also my own racism, or my own prejudice, or my own, you know, insecurity. So I stopped doing that. You know, whatever you
Mm,
project on me, I'm not going to take it, but I'm going to
right.
be a vigilant, you know, good citizen. And I try my best. And, but it's like extremely like excusing or apologizing or explanation, even that was also based on my own insecurity. So I stopped.
Mm, sure.
So yeah, so as you say, yes, it's all, everyone's, yeah, process is different, but we can all, yeah, not stop processing, even though sometimes
Right.
it will give you headache. But drink water. Drink water is so important. Be
Yeah.
hydrated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Hydrate.
yes,
Hydrate for
yes,
sure.
yes. So
Yeah.
and then finding someone like Sharon, is finding someone
Like you.
like us, or yeah, like anybody. It doesn't have to be long conversation, but somebody who can
Right.
see you for who you are and support you. I think
Yeah.
it's a good to process it. We talk about starting like support groups, or
Right.
something, like if we can make ourselves available,
Yeah.
your source of support for the community. We talk about having a little group like this, not big, but a couple of folks. If you're interested in
Yeah.
joining our support groups, we are open to that. Or
Yeah.
we still do telehealth, teletherapy. How is it going, Sharon? You like it?
Yeah, it's yeah. But I am appreciative of like being able to like provide
Me, uh-huh.
yeah like therapy, you know, through the means a lot, you know, I don't know if it's the same for as in person, but yeah, like like Michelle was saying, like so we're kind of just throwing this out there to see if there are any kind of interest in supporting a support group. Based on any feedback that we get, then we
Yes.
will then kind of coordinate and try to figure out what will be helpful for the community as far as support groups. Another resource that is, you know, Michelle herself, she's practicing as a therapist, I am practicing as a therapist. We'll put all of our information below. And there are podcasts that are addressing like this pandemic and Asian Americans and all of that. We'll put some of that below also. Um, so yeah, if you're looking for resources, we'll put that below for you to have access to that, because we really, like we were saying, we really want to spread awareness, empathy, compassion, but also like provide some resources that might help along the way, especially now. And if you're getting a stir in your heart to reach out, just even one of us, we do provide 20-minute I provide 20-minute free consultation
I
to
do
see.
too.
Yeah, so Michelle does too. So that's, good ways to kind of get linked up with people. Yeah. So do you have anything else to add to that, or?
No, it was perfect.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Validation.
Evaluation, yes. And
Yeah.
then so we are, if some folks are interested in doing groups, we also want to co-host the group, so
Yeah.
co-facilitate the group. So that's another kind of our heart desire. So we kind of wanted to throw things out there and just, support and also try new things. And that's what the pandemic is challenging us to do.
Totally.
So this is our first attempt. We are not like any, we researched about this like for a week or not like that. We just really come out from our heart, and then we want to meet you where you are at, and then we want to offer ourselves from where we are at. So this is our first adventure, and thank you for listening, and thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you guys. And we do have to throw out though that if it is for a group and you are interested, you do have to reside in California, right, Michelle?
Right. That's very true. Yeah, we are all licensed in California, we can only serve, not Hawaii.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, not New York. Yes.
Yeah. But so that's something if you want to reach out. But we'll throw in some resources anyways that will be kind of accessible to all, no matter what state you're in. And yeah. Okay.
Thank you for your time. I'm going back to my kids, and
okay, sounds good.
Homeschooling going on, but thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bye all.
Yes. Let me